And welcome to the Midday Show. I am Jeff Everett. He is Mark Messina. Student litter box. We're going to talk about the wild rumors. Really, they're going all around the country, but they've been locally as of recent. So we're going to talk about litter boxes in schools and the ridiculous claims. Self-booze ban. Pennsylvania is actually introducing, I think, is a neat bill. We're going to dive into a little bit. And then we're finally, maybe we're going to get to talk about if anybody is actually worth $1 billion. I think it's an interesting conversation. Stephen Curry might sign the first ever $1 billion endorsement deal by the end of this week. And then we might think out loud, depending on how much time we have. Before we get to all of that, Mark, how are you feeling today?
I am good.
That's it? That's all you got?
Albert Pujols has 2,200 RBIs.
Okay.
For his career.
Wow.
So a good year, a really good year,
yes,
is driving in 100 runs. So 2,200 means you have to have a really good year.
Yeah.
22 times.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that's Hank Aaron has the record. I don't know what I should have looked that up. This is maybe even more astounding to me, and I guess he has 1,398 extra base hits.
Okay.
So 70 extra base hits. If you just want to break it down, if people aren't baseball people and think about extra base hits, 40 doubles and 30 homers in a season is an all-star season. That's 70.
Nice.
To have 1,400, you need 70 extra base hit seasons. Just to give a comparison, do you know how many times Derek Jeter had 70 extra base hits in a season?
Well, go ahead. Give it to
One.
Me. Okay. Jeter's if Jeter played for the Padres, I don't even know if the aura of Jeter would exist.
Tony Gwynn played for the Padres.
But the point that you're trying to make is about Albert Pujols. So go ahead, continue.
It's astounding.
Yeah.
He just had a double last night. That's why he needs 2 more. And he would have had it in games that were rained out and stuff like that during his career that they didn't get 5 innings in. But
yeah.
It's incredible what he's done. In July, he either found the fountain of youth or sold his soul, one of the two.
Okay.
We're not sure. Because sometime when you're bored, if you're a baseball fan, go on and look at in like June, he couldn't hit anything.
Right.
And since July, he's been the best hitter on the planet. He's 42 years old.
Yeah.
And they're going to make the playoffs, and it'll be a fun run.
Nice.
That's all I got.
Thanks.
I'm done. I'm done. Signing off now.
That was it. Thank you guys for joining the Midday Show. No,
Jeff will take it the rest of the way. I do have. Can I mention other things? Go ahead.
I was going to dive into the show, but go ahead.
I do want to mention this too.
I need to come up with a corner or a segment for what this is called.
This is just Mark's rambling. Well, you asked me how I was feeling. I saw a post that do you know Night Ranger, the band, Sister Christian?
I've heard of them, yes.
Okay. Their drummer turned 70 today.
Okay.
Which I guess is like, they're old, they're early 80s, whatever, 70.
Okay.
I just can't and I'm a math guy. I just can't mathematically grasp how young some of these people. Do you know how old Ozzy Osbourne is?
You asked me this the other day. What was it?
73.
Okay.
How can the drummer from Night Ranger and Ozzy Osbourne be essentially the same age? Because Ozzy's been around from the 60s. You know how old Mick Jagger is?
I do not.
79. Mick Jagger is not 80 years old yet, yet the band has been playing for like 70 years, and I don't understand how that can possibly happen. And I'm not getting into the fact that these guys are still alive, and all the substances that they put in their body never killed them. But these guys, do you know how old McCartney is?
No, I do not.
80. He just turned 80 like 2 months ago. The Beatles have literally been around since the country was formed. Not their country, our country. The Beatles have been around forever. And Paul McCartney's 80 years old.
Does it bother you that some of your favorite things are things that have a capsule? Like this, I guess this is what I'm saying to you. Like, I love basketball, but one of the things I like about basketball is how it's always changing and flowing and new innovation and all of that. I like music, but one of the things I like about music is the change and the innovation and what's next, what's happening. You have these likes that are like finite, like they were like pocketed in this period of time. Because if I said to you like, who's your favorite rock band right now, you couldn't do it.
I could. It's just still someone that came out in the 80s.
But have you ever thought about that? About
my favorite modern rock band?
No. What I'm saying is like, have you ever thought about the issue? Is the wrong word. Have you ever thought about the conundrum of loving something that is finite in the sense of like there is nothing new coming out of it?
I think the vast majority of people like the music they grew up with and stay there.
I'm not saying that that's not true, but what I'm saying to you is like if you grew up liking country, there is new country. If you grew up liking rap, there is new rap. Your love of rock is very unique in the sense of it would be very difficult. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it would be difficult for you to find the next iteration of something that you love. You Correct. Are kind of frozen within this time that I like. When you ask me like how old is Paul McCartney, if I sat here and started listing off like my music and how old people were, sure, you'd have some people that are like in their 50s, 60s, but I would also throw people at you that are 20. Like I would throw people at you that are 30.
And I would throw them back.
Yes, exactly. No, it doesn't. Like that never crosses your mind. It doesn't bother you at all.
No. I mean, there is an aspect of there's times that you're like, I've heard this a few times, but
yeah.
There's just so much good old stuff that you just never.
I get what you're saying. That's interesting. You did come in. You were ready to talk about the furry litter box high school bathrooms.
There was a little story. There's a story, Central Mountain, a couple months ago, or maybe it wasn't even a couple months ago. Maybe it was since school started. Maybe it was just a couple weeks ago. It seems like months. Then there was rumor at Hughesville, an internet rumor that at school board meeting you explained to me about stuff that's happening on TikTok and then people running wild with it. There are no school. I'm saying this on no official authority. I'm saying this from a common sense world. There is no school board that is putting litter boxes in bathrooms. Now, as you pointed out to me, maybe students are going to put them there. And I could see the guys that I went to school. I started picturing the guys who are like, I'm bringing a litter box tomorrow. So we're not saying that there will never be litter boxes showing up in schools. I'm telling you, they're not placed there by the administration. They're just not. It's not happening. If you think that you're going to a school board meeting and they're going to seriously discuss litter boxes in bathrooms, then you're not smart enough to go to the school board meeting, because this is not what's going on. But people post it online to get sensationalistic reaction. It's just not happening.
I will tell you, the first time I had heard about this was at the end of last school year. So going into this past summer. And I had heard a rumor at a school, and it came from two different people. And I did have this moment of kind of like, I was bouncing my head like, this can't be true. But then I was kind of like, God, like the world we live in, like maybe there is a litter box out there. Like, I don't know. So then like I dug a little more, and what I realized was there's some TikTok trends going on, some stuff on social media, rumor stuff, things like that. So everything that I've looked up, I went through about 50 different news search results about litter boxes, and every single one came back and said that the rumor is untrue. Superintendent, there have never been litter boxes. Claim about school providing litter boxes false for Middle District. Like all across the country, I could not find one instance of a news report of a school board actually saying or agreeing to putting litter boxes in the school.
And again, I
couldn't do it.
There will be litter boxes in high school bathrooms, but they will be placed there by students thinking they're funny. They won't be placed there by anyone with any authority.
Which, by the way, like you and I don't always agree what's funny. Kind of funny.
Oh,
like if they
listen.
Like I'm not implying that kids should do it, but kind of it would be a sense of humor that I would appreciate if like someone just dropped the litter box off in the bathroom.
You were 17 years old right now and you're sitting at a cafeteria table and one of your buddies was telling you he had a litter box in the trunk of his car and he was sneaking it in after school, you would not talk him out of it.
Probably not. Just for people who don't know, because I think most do, the power of TikTok is really, really neat. I send you stuff on TikTok pretty consistently now. Probably like once or twice a week, I'll send you something that.
So does Jerry, who is the oldest TikTok user in America.
He might be. But I think one of the things that you'll find from what Jerry and I send you is it's not this place for like dancing, right? Like I think there's this idea of like it's lip sync and dancing, and that's what TikTok started as. A lot of the stuff I send you is like it's news clips.
It's intelligent.
It's intelligent. It's informational. It's teaching. It's learning. Different things like that. I will tell you that a lot of this TikTok stuff, one of the biggest trends are trends for high school bathrooms. Some of them are incredibly awful. There's been ones where like literally the whole point is to destroy the bathroom. Like how much collateral damage can you physically cause to the bathroom? It was an awful trend. I feel bad for any school that had to deal with it. However, there are some unbelievably clever, funny, like kids are coming up with stuff that is just incredible. I told you about the group of high school boys that they fit as many people into the bathroom as they could. And when the bell sounded, they all single file walked out. So
it's like the clown car.
It was like the clown car of the high school bathroom, which I thought was really, really clever. There's people doing these skits of like, you never know what to expect next. And so someone like trips and falls and they start making a beat and someone comes out of the stall and like singing Whitney Houston or like just really clever, funny stuff. This is 100% driven, in my opinion, by this TikTok trend. Because I know for a fact there are videos of kids showing up in like furry outfits, walking into a bathroom. There's like a litter box or a pod or whatever it might be. And like the furry pretends to use it and they walk out. I don't find it very clever. I don't find that one funny. But that is like a lot of where this is deriving are students doing it and then going like, can you believe the school put a litter box in our bathroom to get clicks, to get people sharing, to get into the algorithm? It's almost like a hack of trying to gain followers and gain fame is what's happening with a lot of this stuff.
Don't you think, go to spin this away, we weren't going to go,
No.
but the destruction of the bathrooms is, don't you think that those people kind of want attention, want something, but they aren't clever enough to come up with something funny or clever? So this is the only way they can do it?
Can I say this and then will you ask that question again? Can you and I agree that dismantling like young male students disassembling a bathroom or vandalizing a bathroom is not new? Like this was stuff that happened when I was in school.
Oh,
happened
vandalism is vandalism. Yeah,
but I'm talking about specifically like high school bathrooms.
I don't remember anything.
You don't remember anything like that? Like to me, when people were like, can you believe this generation like destroying the bathroom and stuff like that? I was kind of like, yes, I can, because I know when I was a kid, younger, older, all the way through, there was always somebody did this to the urinal. Somebody did that to the sink. Someone tried to take the hand thing off the wall. Like it just felt like it was always something a destructive male was just, it was either the place where they thought they were alone and they could get away with it. I don't know what it was. But this idea of like, wow, this generation, wild. It's like, no, like, I feel like this had been going on for a couple of decades before this one.
And you could be right. You could be right.
Okay, so what was
but
your
I
question?
see like the part, it's much better. It seems like such a stupid word, but people would obviously, to get attention, would rather do something that makes people laugh or makes people think or makes people, as opposed to just destroying it. But if you want the attention and you can't think of anything, you can take a sledgehammer to a sink.
Sure.
And any moron can take a sledgehammer to a sink. It's kind of like the graffiti artists that you'll see somebody that's good, and then you'll see somebody that just like wrote over top of it because they weren't, if they could make something good, they would have.
I see what you're saying.
But they can't. So they just kind of destroy those who can.
I see what you're
so
saying.
I also, I think there's a psychology to the, I think the people who destroyed the bathroom, if they would have been clever enough to come up with a clown car bathroom, would have. But they can't.
I totally agree. Two completely different side notes because when are we ever going to talk about school bathrooms again? The first one, do you remember the first time you ever went in? Because in case for people who don't know, in high school sports, you typically end up using either the girls' locker room or the girls' bathroom when you travel.
Correct.
So as a boy,
the girls use the boys' locker.
So as a high school student, that's an athlete, you get to see sides of the schools or the facilities that someone who doesn't play high school sports would never get to see.
Right.
I remember the first time I was in junior high and I was in 7th grade. I remember the first time I walked into a girl's bathroom, like a girl's locker room. It was so clean. It was so nice. And I remember thinking to myself, like, do they just not clean our bathroom? Like, what is going on here? I will never forget 13-year-old me just like being blown away at the cleanliness of the girls' bathroom, ever. Blown away by it. No, you never had that moment?
No, I did not have the cleanliness moment.
Okay, I had that. The other one, there is a video going around now of the urinal theory, which almost every guy knows about the urinal theory. And it's their boyfriends or significant others introducing the urinal theory to their girlfriend or significant other. And the girls are just like, they can't wrap their head around the idea of the urinal theory.
What is the theory?
You don't know the urinal theory. So if there's 3 urinals, if no one's there, like you go to the middle. If someone's on the one all the way to the left, you go all the way to the right.
Of course.
If someone's all the way to the right, you go all the way to the left.
Okay.
Okay. If there's a stall and someone's in the middle, you use the stall if no one's waiting. Like the whole urinal theory. It's almost like
I've never done. I don't do that.
Okay, but the point I'm making though is like you had never heard of it, but you knew exactly what I was talking.
Yes.
You knew exactly what I was talking about. So this trend is really neat because girls are just like, all guys just get this, and it's like kind of like no one says it, but like everybody.
Yeah, you don't go if there's open urine. You don't go stand next to the guy.
Yes,
absolutely not.
But see, for girls, like, why would they have known that? It's like this epiphany of like when they walk in, everything's a stall, and like, so why would they ever have to worry about the urinal theory? So it's like this unwritten, like it's not like DNA or like anything like that, but it's like this unwritten code that as guys, like I was never taught the theory. I just kind of understood it.
Yes.
Yes. And so as these girlfriends and these significant others are finding out, they're like blown away that men have this like
it's very similar to a parking lot. When you're pulling into a parking lot, if there's a car, you don't park right next to it. You park if there's lots of empty spaces.
How cold is it? How far away am I?
You never park right next to a car, depending on temp. It's the width of a parking.
If it's like an empty, if it's a half empty lot, you're exactly right. Yes. Is that what you're implying?
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like there's so many other things that go into parking though. You're not like that. I'm a big pull through guy. Like I will, if I see a spot that's like 4 spots deeper, but I can pull through, I will do that every time.
Well, yeah. I mean, I get. And I will, in a busy parking lot, like or in a parking deck, where I was just yesterday, I pondered this. If there are 2 cars already parked, I will park in between them if it's wide.
Okay.
If it's abnormally wide, and I'm like, oh, there might not be an issue here. As opposed to parking by myself and not knowing what morons are going to end up parking next to me.
No, I see what you're saying. See, that's what I'm saying. I feel like there's more to parking. I feel like the parking stuff goes deeper.
I get it, but it's just spatial recognition.
You pull up to a spot, there's an empty spot on the right and an empty spot on the left. However, you can pull all the way through, but there's a car on the left and a car on the right. Do you pull all the way through?
No.
I would pull all the way through every single time.
No, I don't.
Interesting.
No, I'd rather have space on the sides.
So this is the point I'm making. I feel like the parking one has discussion. Where
parking one, okay, you're right. The parking one has,
like,
yes, you're right. The urinal one is just understood.
It's just innate.
It's like the 11th commandment.
A little bit.
Or the 15th, 10 commandments. Did you ever see History of the World?
No.
Yeah, there were. See,
he breaks the tablet.
Your generation doesn't know this.
I have seen the.
There were 3 stone tablets, and he dropped one.
Okay.
The 15 commandments, and one shatters. And he goes, 10 commandments. I wonder what the other 15 were, or the other 5 were. We should come up with the other 5.
It might have just been the entire urinal theory.
Urinal theory might have been one of them.
Oh, you think it just didn't take up the whole tablet?
Well, no, it's only one of the commandments.
Maybe. Bill would let people ban themselves from buying booze in Pennsylvania. A state lawmaker has publicly shared his struggles with alcoholism, wants to enlist the help of state liquor stores and restaurants and bars that serve liquor as tools to help individuals like him in their recovery. The basic gist of this is you are essentially self-flagging yourself. So they will have a system in place where if you are recovering from alcoholism, if you're in a legal matter where you don't want alcohol to influence you or have any issue with what's coming up, whatever the case may be, maybe you're studying for med school and you don't want the distraction. Who knows? You could essentially flag yourself, and when your ID is scanned, you would not be allowed to purchase alcohol from anywhere that has a liquor license.
It's a wonderful idea because it's, a lot of these are about moments of weakness.
Mm-hmm.
And if in your strength you could do this,
Mm-hmm.
Not just with your credit card, but with your ID, because when they're showing ID, and then it would, yes, that's fascinating. As you were saying this, you mentioned it earlier to me before the show,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it's a good idea. Does it lead to further things for people with weight loss issues, that they can flag no ice cream on my credit card, and when I get to no,
Well, what about like credit card debt? Like if you're somebody who struggles,
no, the
with
credit card
debt,
companies will never help you.
they'll
with
never
that.
allow it. Because I would
No.
say, like, if you were someone who struggled with debt, gambling, things like that,
It would be.
gambling would be an interesting one too. Like if you're somebody who's addicted to gambling, you could flag yourself at every casino in the state.
Well, you could flag your credit card because so many, like all the FanDuel's, the what's the other big one that I'm missing?
You're talking about on your card, on your phone?
Yeah.
Okay, I was talking about like actual casinos.
But casinos, yeah, but it would be, well, I guess there aren't that many casinos. I'm thinking Vegas, but when you're not in Vegas, there aren't that many.
Yeah.
Yes, but it is a trend with lots of things. Could you flag yourself to say, the heck was that? When you're at the gym,
Yeah.
when you're leaving the gym and you just sweated for an hour and you're like, that's it. I'm, no ice cream on this credit card, and not to the point that you can remove it, that it is permanent on the card, that you'd have to go to the effort to apply for another card. Now, of course, with ice cream and stuff, you could pay in cash.
Right.
With the thing about liquor is, if you did it with your driver's license, that you would have to go somewhere and you would have to bribe the guy into not swiping your driver's license, but then it would be
No, I mean it's certainly not a
it's not foolproof,
system.
but it's good.
It
could help.
Here's my devil's advocate for it, because I think from one side of this, I would go as far as saying it's almost a beautiful thing. Like the willingness to flag yourself and better yourself, and all of those things are great. Let's set that over here for a second. I purchase in the state of Pennsylvania. I purchase a liquor license. Are you with me?
Yep.
I don't think you are.
No, I'm reading about they just messed up our schedule, and I'm mad, and I haven't even got through this. So now I'm going to try to stay not mad.
So here's the devil's advocate. I purchase a liquor license.
Okay.
I have to pay for it. I have to maintain it. There's certain stipulations I have to meet. And on top of all of that, I have to try to make my money back. This would be one of the only, I was trying to think how to word this. Wouldn't this be one of the only things in the state of Pennsylvania where people could self-flag themselves from your business? And what I mean by that is all the examples you gave. Like if I buy an ice cream shop, I don't have to worry about my clientele self-flagging themselves from coming to my shop. If I own a casino, I don't have to worry about people self-flagging themselves from coming to the casino. What does that mean for the purchaser of the liquor license? Now, again, from a humanitarian side, I totally agree with what this does. But from a business standpoint, if it's the only one that you can self-flag, are you hurting the people who have purchased a liquor license? But see, again, like the individual, it's no different than me deciding not to walk in your bar, maybe. So what's the difference? What's the difference between the person who self-flags and the person who decides I'm just not going to walk in your bar? Then you're coming back
to, is there a bar, restaurant, whatever, distributor who is surviving off people who are struggling greatly with alcoholism? Because those are only the people, because the people who are alcoholics who haven't flagged themselves, who are still going through it, they're still there. Yeah. It's only the people who are really, really trying. And if you are in business and you're like, screw it, I will suck off the people who are really, really trying and keep breaking down, then I don't have sympathy for those business owners.
Yeah.
Yeah, and from like, if we're talking, when I was going back to the obesity standpoint, if it's about like whatever your issue is, you could, whether it be ice cream, whether it be delivery pizza, whether it be fast food, whether it be whatever, you could pick and choose your, so it's not like the ice cream guy gets screwed or the pizza delivery guy gets screwed. Like, people could pick and choose what their individual vice is.
Yeah.
That, that hurt. It's
interesting.
It is an interesting, yeah, it's interesting. And it could do a lot of help.
It'll be interesting. The interesting part about this is, like I said, there's a state.
You could do it with cigarettes.
Yes, you could. Because there's a state license involved. I don't know. I just, in my head, I feel like there's a way the court could come back and say it's an unfair business practice to do this to one and not the others when it's state regulated. I feel like if you set the moral and the humanity side apart of it, because you and I agree that it's a great thing. I would imagine that in the court of law, if someone wanted to, like if I was a bitter bar owner who was like, this is going to hurt my business and I wanted to fight it, I could see the court of law coming to a place where they could justify that it is an unfair business practice.
But if you as an individual, as you said, if you're in recovery and you decide, I'm not going to this bar anymore, that's perfectly within your right.
And it's a personal choice. So
correct.
I agree.
So all you're doing is helping someone who's admitting that there's a weakness and an issue that's, and they're doing it to themselves.
Yeah.
They're saying, I don't necessarily always have the willpower to stay out of the bar.
Yes.
So I'm going to make this check and balance to keep me out of the bar.
Yes.
I would hope the legal system is not that heartless.
Well, you're looking at it from the individual perspective, which I think you're going to say
I'm looking at it from societal perspective.
It sounds like you're looking at it from the individual perspective, because you keep saying, like, for this person, it's great, and they're making the choice and they're making the decision. And I agree with you. My bad analogy, I'm going to give a Mark bad analogy. Here's my bad analogy.
I don't understand why all Mark's analogies are bad.
They're just bad. So
I don't like that.
So this is a bad one. Here's another bad one. I own a business, and you see this all the time. The community will come in. They'll say, we want to put in a traffic light here because it keeps getting jammed up. And the businesses on one side of the street will fight it because it doesn't help them on this side. Like, they know people will now stop and turn off to go to the other side of the road. Whereas before, they would kind of lean or stay on this side of the barrier. So they will fight against it because they're basically like, it doesn't help my business. You're hurting my business, all that stuff. All I'm saying is I could see them making the same argument about a self-flagging system in Pennsylvania. Doesn't mean I necessarily agree with it. I'm saying I see how a business owner could actually go to court and maybe win it.
Okay. So as I'm thinking out loud here, and I don't know a whole lot about the laws, but aren't there people who are then depending on a crime like a DUI or something like that, can't they be banned from bars as part of the justice system?
They can be, what's the word I'm looking for? I mean, we're maybe the two worst people to talk about this. They can essentially, like, not be on home arrest, but they can essentially be, it's like pedophiles in schools.
Yeah,
they can't come within so many feet of an organization or a building.
Of a bar. Mm-hmm. So isn't that this kind of the same thing? Isn't the court system?
But the court would argue, yes, but the court would argue that they broke the law. And what they're going to say is some of the people that would apply for this have technically not broken any laws.
But I get it. But if
we're just looking at it from two different points of view.
But if the business owner can't go to the court and say, I understand what you're trying to do, but you're hurting my business.
Mm-hmm. They do that all the time. Because again, like with traffic flow,
I get it.
Clearly, they're putting in the traffic light because there's been accidents and they've had trouble, and yet sometimes like those businesses win, like they actually stop it from happening. So it's not so much like that. I don't think it's better off. I don't agree. It's just like I actually think this could have trouble going through once it was implemented, because I could see some businesses, for better and for worse, just kind of being like, I'm not worried about him. I am worried about my business, and you are hurting it. It's a fascinating.
I get it, because, and this isn't even one that we could go ask a lawyer, ask a judge.
Yeah.
This would be one that went and they had legal minds that this is like a state Supreme Court or a, they have to make a ruling, because there is no cut and dry. It would be really heartless, though, of someone of trying that hard to be.
Like I said, from an individualistic humanitarian side of it, like, yes, arguing that side is difficult. From just a court of law business perspective, I could see somebody making an argument that would withstand within the court of law. It's remember when we talked about who was the actor that accidentally shot the guy on set? Baldwin. It's like I said to you, like, in no way, shape, or form do I think this guy should be held responsible or go to jail. However, once you got it into the court of law, like, could I see someone making a defense
I get it.
And I feel the same way about
I think
this.
there are just lots of and maybe these exist. I don't know, but I don't. Are there lots? One would be with like porn addictions with credit cards.
Yeah.
Because you can't pay cash.
Yeah.
Online.
Right.
So there's lots of places you could help society if people could
flag themselves. They kind of can in a way, right? There's limits. You can on television, you can block certain channels. On your phone, you can block certain apps. They have apps that time lock and stuff like that. I mean, you can. But you
can adjust all those personally, can't you? If when you sign up for your credit card, if you're like, listen, this is what I want, and then like part of the credit card company says you can make adjustments,
right?
But it's going to take. But then the question is the credit card company going to do it, or are they going to, or do they know if we piss these people off, they're just going to go sign up and get a new credit card?
That's very well. They would definitely go get new credit cards. That's the American way of life. I wonder, like, if let's say this passed, is it as simple as just like flicking a toggle? Like, how long would it take me? Like, if I got mad on a Tuesday, could I have this thing turned off by Friday? You know what I mean?
That's the thing. It needs to be strong enough that it survives the moment of weakness. Because if you're an alcoholic and you're great for, 3 weeks in a row or a month in a row, and then
But you don't want it to be, I'm trying to think how to say this. You don't want it to be a thing. You don't want to deter people from doing it because they're like, well, crap, if I do this, it takes a month to reverse it. And do I really want it? And then all of a sudden they're like, well, I'll just try to do this on my own.
But if you are the person that's like, do you remember I did the month with no ice cream? Mm-hmm. Like that would have been.
But that was.
Ice cream's easy because you can pay cash.
It was easy for you to do that because at the end of the month, there was going to be no process that stopped you from eating ice cream again. So what I'm saying,
I get it.
If you could do that for ice cream, I mean, this is a pretty good example. If you could have done that for your month without ice cream, but you knew in the background, like, oh my gosh, my buddy did this, and it took him like 2 months to get it back to where I was cleared. All of a sudden now, like, do you decide like it's not worth it? Like, I'm not risking it. I'm not doing the hassle. So there's a lot of questions.
It depends how serious you are about quitting whatever you're trying to quit.
Yes.
If you want to quit smoking. Mm-hmm. Like a month, 2 months, 6, it doesn't matter because you're trying to quit. Mm-hmm. There's an aspect with especially with, smoking or alcoholism or drugs or all those other aspects, not that you can buy drugs with a credit card, but there are health plan dieting things, as I'm trying not to sneeze here, that you might do it for a month or you do it for a extended. Did you ever notice this? And this is, if you have to sneeze, you just suck on the roof of your mouth.
No, I've never.
You never tried. That. Next time you have to sneeze and you're trying to fight it back.
Shout out the CAC in Hotel California and the salute.
It works. I'm telling you, it's a life hack.
Well, I'm trying to give you some screen here so you can help yourself out.
Well, if I sneeze, it's gonna be loud anyway. But I'm through it because I sucked on the roof of my mouth. It works. I'm telling you.
The Community Arts Center. Be sure to check out Hotel California. Salute to the Eagles. When is it?
It's tonight.
It's tonight.
You can still get tickets.
That's right.
If you've never seen, they're not a cover band, a tribute band is what they're called. They will look the part. They will sound the part. Again, if this is what these people do for a living, they go around and they look like the Eagles and they sound like the Eagles and they play. It will be a great time.
Yeah.
And everybody likes the Eagles. Maybe the young kids. My son probably wouldn't like it because I do, and he can't like things I like, because why would you do that?
That's not true. He likes UFC.
He liked it first.
No, is that what happened?
Yeah.
You have to get. We only probably have 5, maybe 10 minutes left. Stephen Curry, $1 billion. Here's the thing. I don't want to have necessarily like a Stephen Curry conversation. I think he's good to use as the example, obviously, because he's about to sign it. It looks like he's going to get a $1 billion lifetime contract with Under Armour. I've tried to find the way that this would actually pay out. No one has actually laid out lump sum year by year. Like, I've been trying to figure out.
Well, it ain't lump sum.
Well, I was trying to figure out what that would mean or look like. Here's my question. I think Stephen Curry is incredibly valuable to a brand. I think Stephen Curry is unique. I think there are a lot of athletes, musicians, actors, you name it, like lots of people that bring value to a brand. I have struggled to wrap my head around somebody's aura being worth $1 billion. And what I mean by that is, I think when you are performing an act, I would argue there are probably people on this planet that are worth $1 billion. Like, nobody can do what Steph Curry does. I think on a basketball court, he's probably actually underpaid given what the league brings in and how unique the thing he does is. However, the aura around that, I just can't imagine anybody's aura is worth $1 billion.
Well, here's my first question. And we've learned this with every NFL contract that comes up. How much is it worth? How much is guaranteed? Is it a guaranteed billion? Or are there incentives laid in?
It's a good question. So this is because now people are starting to report it more and more. None of it has actually said how much is guaranteed, the year by year, all of that. It's all rumors. Like, if you read one report,
so it's like litter box in the bathroom.
A little bit. It's all rumors right now. So I don't know how this plays out. All I know is that, like, if you sit down and you do the year by year, if Stephen Curry lived to be like 55, 60, you could make the argument that it's a win for Under Armour. Like, they actually got a deal only having to pay him $1 billion for those 20, 25 years. I can't imagine that when Stephen Curry is 50, the value of his shoe or shirt or brand is still what it is right now.
I get that. First of all, they're looking at Jordan, and Jordan still has value, and I get that too. The part that this is what I just took from your sentence.
Okay.
You just said, as a 35-year-old, if he lives to be 55 or 60, like, that's old. As a 50-year-old, I'm like, 55 and 60 ain't that old.
If I was giving you $10, then it's like, well, listen, if he gets hit by a bus, it's whatever. If you're giving somebody $1 billion, let's say half of it's guaranteed, you're not looking at like, this contract's going to run out in 5 years. You're banking on the idea that this guy's just, nothing bad's going to happen to him. So, like, do I think Stephen Curry will live to be 80? Yeah, of course I do. However, if I were giving him $500 million up front, like,
there's no way they'd give it up front.
You don't think so? Why do you think that?
Why would they? It's got to be spaced over.
Okay, but if you're Stephen Curry, then if you're sitting down and doing the math of a year by year, why accept this deal? Because
you don't have a better one?
I don't know. He probably does.
From who?
You don't think he could get like a more year by year offer today?
Well, it's probably year by. It's probably spread out over.
But you just said none of it's guaranteed. That's the point I'm making.
Oh, well, it's all tied into stuff. It's incentives. It's tied into sneaker sales, and
I get that. But you see, you're like riding both sides of the fence, because you're saying he can't possibly get a better deal, but you're saying there's no way it's guaranteed. So if you're Stephen Curry, you could probably go get $200 million guaranteed right now today
from Nike,
from anybody. Under Armour would give him $200 million guaranteed for like a 5-year deal for sure. They would do that in a heartbeat.
Okay.
What I'm saying to you, though, is like, if you're implying to me it's not guaranteed, then wouldn't it behoove him to go get like some 5-year deal that's guaranteed and then sign a lifetime whatever? Because now
because 5 years from now he might be a worthless basketball player.
but I just made that argument too to you, that if you're Under Armour, doesn't this seem like it seems like a risk that's unnecessary?
Well, but from the Under Armour side and the Steph Curry side is different. Steph Curry wants to lock in now while he still has value. Under Armour, yes, there's always a risk to signing these people long term, and I'm sure they're all looking at Jordan and thinking that there's of modern times, there's Jordan, there's LeBron, and there's Steph Curry, and I assume that's what Under Armour's saying, that we need to sign Steph because we need to, and 30 years from now, he'll still be the greatest shooter on earth, just like 30 years from now, Michael Jordan still can fly.
I get that part. A, do you think he's worth it? Is anybody worth $1 billion?
I don't know.
Not for the thing they do, for just being around. I don't know if anyone's worth $1 billion.
I think
for
one of the
being
things,
around.
One of the things that when they value these, it's not just so much of what is it worth to you. It's what happens if he goes to our competitor and now we have nobody. So that's always so when the Yankees are going to sign Aaron Judge, they can't just look at it and say, what is Aaron Judge worth to us on the field? They also have to look at it and say, how much does it hurt if he signs with the Mets or if he signs with the Red Sox?
So now B, if that is the case, then then it sounds to me as if Stephen Curry has the leverage, the situation you just described. Under Armour needs
he certainly has.
Okay,
he has.
So then why would he? So then why do you think they're not going to guarantee a significant portion of this money? Why would Stephen Curry not demand that it be guaranteed?
Well, you can only demand so much, and they like Under Armour. If Steph Curry says no, Under Armour ain't going out of business.
I'm picking on you a little bit. It just feels like you're on both. It feels like you're on both sides, and I don't.
It depends whose side you're arguing. If you're looking at Steph Curry's side and you say, why don't you demand more? Because Under Armour may say no.
Okay.
Like, I'm sure he's going to negotiate as much guarantee. In every negotiation, one side's getting as much as they want while the other side's giving as little as they have to give. But you're trying to tell me that
you don't think most of this is guaranteed.
My guess,
I'm saying to
my
you
guess
I
would
think,
be no.
Okay, my guess is I think if you're Stephen Curry, the whole point of signing $1 billion deal today is because it is the most lump sum you could possibly get now. Because otherwise, you could just sign a 2-year, and then start your own company, start your own whatever. Like, to lock himself into this, I think says he's probably getting a significant sum. Maybe it's part of Under Armour. Like, maybe he's becoming like he's X percentage. Like, I don't know. But I just can't imagine that someone would lock themselves into a lifetime contract if they weren't getting a lump sum.
But he doesn't know to push it off later and say, I'll bet on myself and in a couple years I'll still be worth what I am now is risky. Because he's older, because he's been hurt. And what is he, 34 now? Like, his basketball value is probably going to slowly decline.
Okay.
He's starting to do commercials. He's a Subway guy. So he's starting to build his brand outside of it more.
But he's always done that stuff.
But
he did the State Farm stuff early. Like, he's always kind of been a brandy type.
I guess, but State Farm's now. I guess it's just to put it off and say I'll be worth just as much 4 years from now as I am now is always risky for an athlete. It's risky for It's risky for everyone in the entertainment world, but it's risky.
It's so funny because I agree, just in a different way. I feel like it's risky to lock yourself into to a lifetime deal without the guarantee. To me, the automatic negotiation.
Some of it's guaranteed, I'm sure, but not. I can't believe it's $1 billion.
$200 million.
I would say it's closer to half. I would say I'll bet over time, because if they paid him $50 million a year for the next 10 years, I would think Under Armour could do that. Okay. Also understanding if something happens and Under Armour goes bankrupt, then they're out of it.
Right, which is even more incentive for Stephen Curry to get his money now.
But he's banking. I mean, the same thing with Jordan. The same thing. They don't think Nike's going bankrupt. They don't think Under Armour's going bankrupt. I get it, but I got to run.
Thank you guys for watching the Midday Show. Be sure to go to NorthcentralPa.com for all of your local
Because I'm going
news.
to deposit my $1 billion guarantee. Did we get that yet? Did we sign that yet?
Someone said we have to win the Emmy first.
Shoot.
I know it's going to be hard. They don't love us.
All right, that's gonna be
We're gonna have to. You know what's gonna have to happen is next summer we're gonna have to actually campaign. Like we're gonna have to actually.
We should.
Yes.
We should push.
Thank you guys. I'm Jeff Everett. He's Mark Messina, and we will see you tomorrow.